MIDDLEKAUFF! Hey, hey! Hello, everybody. Welcome to Haberman and MIDDLEKAUFF. It is Thursday night, almost midnight Eastern time. But neither one of us is in the Eastern time zone.
No, we're not.
It's great to have you. If you are watching us on YouTube, hello. Hit that like button. That helps out with the old the algorithm. It helps people find us, new people. Also, John, I was checking the stats today. Here's a little stat for you. 50.6% of people watching are not subscribed.
You got to get on that, people. Subscribe, rate, review, but most of all, subscribe. 50%?
50.6%.
That's a lot of people. We need to hammer that harder. Subscribe, God damn it. Or we'll just quit.
Oh, my God. I never thought of that. We'll threaten a walkout.
Yeah.
We're not here for free.
Well, did you see, before we dive into our friends at Tito's, that before the PGA Tour won the injunction on those guys from LIV trying to get into the playoffs, the threat was if those three guys were allowed to play, all the other 122 guys were going to refuse and boycott, like a walkout.
Wait, if those three guys were allowed to play, the 122 at the FedEx were going to be out.
That was like their threat, because they
had tell those guys.
Yeah, it was. A lot of people thought that it was a hollow threat, but there have been a lot of threats. I was at a couple weeks ago after golf with this guy, and he was telling stories about his dad, who was like a diehard Union guy, had flown for like Delta, and said that he loved the 49ers more than anything, but his love of the Union made him always not look at Joe Montana the same because Montana crossed the picket lines. It was like, my dad just didn't mess with Joe Montana after that moment. You just realize how different times were.
So I mentioned Eastern time. Obviously, I'm watching The Sopranos, which takes place in the Eastern time zone, but I also watch the Yankees, as you know, daily. And the Yankees, and I listen to the Yankees. One of their major advertisers is local union, 378, EMI, the plumber. Like they've got a Yankee Stadium on the wall, which is not cheap. The plumbers have a thing. The ads, now it's the Yankees baseball presented by Local 876. Like the unions are major advertisers of Yankees baseball. I feel like they used to advertise on Giants games, like back in the day, listening to games.
God, the unions got a lot of cash.
Well, I know. I'm just saying you don't see them most places, but you see them there.
Well, they're so big, I think, in the Philly, New York, Boston, that kind of I think that's where unions thrived. That's why Tony, you own the unions, pretty good shape.
J.C. Treader says he can't get it. The unions would run him out. Unions would kept him out of the game. That's what he said.
I think he's retired.
Well, yeah, because he can't get a job because he's the player rep. Although, did you see Whitworth on the end of Amazon Prime broadcast?
That they were calling him about Tyron Smith?
He's like, yeah, it's been a busy day on the phones, but, they're talking to the wrong person. My wife and kids are the ones that make the decision. So he wasn't exactly saying no. They're the ones that decide if I ever play again, was the way he put it. It was like,
well, if you're him and you're already transitioning, doesn't it hey, I just won a Super Bowl. I'm kind of known now as a Ram. Does playing for the Cowboys for 1 year, is it that crazy? Hey, honey, we get $5-6 million. I'll be a Cowboy. It'll just even propel. Shit, I'll be sitting next to Al next year.
Yeah, I'll jump over Sherm and Fitz.
I think you got to think about it if you're him.
Hey, everybody. We are sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka. I love the Tito's and ginger. That's my personal favorite, but a John Daly also is a personal favorite. I've got a 6-way tie. The one I got to try is the one that you posted, some guy on Instagram who made the Starburst Infusion, pink Starburst Infusion in Tito's. I think I'm going to do that one for week 1, John, but however you enjoy, it is a Thursday night. Maybe you're listening to this. If you're listening to the podcast, maybe it's Friday, maybe it's Saturday, maybe you're heading into the weekend. Grab yourself some Tito's. It's always a party when you show up with Tito's.
The Starbucks Infusion, you just take a bunch of pink Starbucks or Starburst. You pour, a bunch of Tito's. You put the Starburst at the bottom. You let them soak, melt, and just become part of the Tito's. and then you have Tito's and Starburst. Then you pour it into a cup with ice about 3/4 of the way full, and then you top it off with lemonade and you mix it up. This guy claimed, and I followed him, and I checked his page. He does a lot of different drinks. It's like what his page is.
Yeah.
He said by far this was his most popular drink he's ever done. And you kind of, I mean, it makes sense, right? You just factor in one of the probably more universally respected candies. It's like talking about Starburst would be like, hey, you like Barry Sanders? Everyone's like, yeah. You like Starburst? Yeah.
But I thought he was saying it was the highest rated, like he rates his drinks Portnoy style. I thought he was saying it's the highest rated drink he's ever made.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I also got the vibe that like everyone just that drink is just a fucking hit. And then when you see him top it off with lemonade, you're like, that is probably pretty good.
Looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. I also looked at his page and subscribed. So I don't think that's an officially sanctioned Tito's drink, but that's the beauty of Tito's. Tito says, you're the mixer. Forget about all the seltzers out there. You just make whatever it is you want to make. Just make sure you use Tito's as your base. So it's absolutely Tito's sanctioned. Tito's, baby. Tito's handmade vodka, bottled in Austin, Texas, and distilled there. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly. They sponsor this show. We're so proud to have Tito's sponsoring this show, and we're definitely looking forward to the January 1st Raiders postgame show.
Love Tito's. Love Tito's. Love Tito's. Yeah. Feels like, I mean, I could see Old English if we ever did a Raiders show. Look at this, what a jerk. What a piece of shit. We've got to some of the games at Coliseum. I mean, we got to, the brand matters.
Unbelievable.
I've drank my fair share of Old Englishes over the years.
Unbelievable.
Hey, in fairness, did you see the reports? They were kicking the Pats' ass.
Yeah, I mean, they're breaking the Pats. Belichick's going to have to clean house, fire all 3 coaches by week 1.
It sure looked like he was having a good time at Dana White's office.
Yeah, well, he was wearing the UFC belt.
He took the whole team. Yeah, he was just screwing around.
Good for him. Loosen it up. Maybe he just knows,
Well, I mean, you're making $20 million. Like, I've already won my 6.
Fellas, we're clearly the undercard these days. Like, Dana, could you talk to the team? Dana's like, sorry about the Brady trade. How about the Brady? He does the Brady thing, and then did Bill know the whole time about Brady?
Well, remember, he did the Brady. He tried to broker the deal when Brady was a free agent, in fairness. Brady told him I was leaving. Remember, Bill didn't want him there. Bill was like, get him out of it.
Bill didn't want him there. Kid Trickster on the stream says, the only thing I learned in this game is Purdy is better than Sudfeld. Let's talk about that, among other things. But I don't think it's the quarterback we're going to start with tonight, John. The quarterback we're going to start with tonight is Trey Lance, who played 2 series with the air quotes starters, played another series. Kyle Shanahan said in his interview during the later part of the game that he actually wanted to play Trey longer, but realized that he did not have that opportunity. I think it was pretty clear. You and I were texting. I was like, you got to get Trey Lance out of this game. This is really, I thought, in many regards, a pointless exercise for Trey Lance on Thursday night. But he played, so what'd you think?
Well, listen, he is going to be – it's pretty hard to just evaluate his game in a vacuum. He threw a dime to Kyle Juszczyk, I think, like first pass of the game. He had another play that I assumed that he threw it into the ground. You did, broke it down, forwarded it to me. It's pretty clear that he gets tipped. I mean, the guy's hands out.
Credit to the guy. People on Twitter actually said to me, no, it was tipped. Watch it again. So
it was clearly tipped.
Credit to Twitter.
Other than that, I mean, he was kind of running around for his life. I think you feel good because the Niners tonight, just as a whole, start to finish, pretty lifeless effort, pretty shitty. And it's, a lot of guys played on offense, defense. Kyle had the thing tonight where it felt like he was prepared to make Trey look pretty good, kind of, because, he had backup offensive linemen at both his tackles and his left tackle. There was one play where Jalen Moore didn't touch the defensive lineman, and he was there so fast. Even the running back was like not even over in time yet. So he had the ball to Deebo that, was it a perfect pass? No, but it was pretty damn good, and Deebo just, was covered kind of, and the DB made a good play. I'm not taking away anything positively or negatively. The one thing I did think, though, watching him play was like he had to play. He just needs to play. And Herb Street kept
talking about in this preseason game.
I'm just talking about in the preseason and the preseason in general, both these 2 games. as the game went on, obviously, I think one thing Herbstreit, I'm sure he's done Iowa State games when Purdy was there, just kept hammering home his experience. And that, to me, like these last 8 months for this guy, like now it's on. I mean, now these games where it just doesn't matter, and I can say, well, fuck. I mean, what are you supposed to make of it tonight? Those days are over, and you're just gonna get evaluated on making plays, even when you're kind of put in shitty situations. Now, the one thing that's clearly different between him and Jimmie, obviously, is his mobility, which we'll probably get into as this goes. But I don't really know what to say. I don't feel bad about it not looking great because I don't put it necessarily on him.
It's funny. I think sometimes people think we're gonna rip them at times when we give them a pass, and people want us to give them a pass at times when we're critical. My takeaway when that game ended was I hope that's the last preseason game we see Trey Lance play in. Kyle Shanahan has shown if you earn it, like Trent Williams, especially Nick Bosa, if you earn it, if I don't think there's anything to gain by playing you in these games, I am not going to play you in these games. If you're a very important player, Fred Warner did not play again.
But do you think it would be possible for him to have a season where he would already be at that level next season?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I mean, to me, it's just as simple as, does Kyle Shanahan feel like you need these reps? And if he rolls out and plays, 17 games and they go to the playoffs and he gets a playoff game, I do think he could get to a point where he feels like, now to me, is there something mechanical and he wants it at game speed? Is he working with a different left tackle one day in a couple of years? I don't know. I'm not saying he'll never play another game, but I hope this is the end of needing Trey Lance to play 2 out of the 3, or maybe it's 3 one day. If it's not a short week, that type of thing. That would be my hope. Now, you're right. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but tonight was an example of, while I agree with you when somebody in the chat said there's no such thing as useless when you're in the position he's in, every rep counts. And I agree with that to a point. But I think the larger issue for Trey, once we get into the season, how does he handle real NFL, like defenses that are trying to trick him? It's a game of adjustments, blah, 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 real game speed, all of that. He's getting more of that in practice against his own defense. He's getting more of that in joint practices. Now, he can't get hit, but that's okay. I don't want him getting hit in preseason games. And tonight, he got close to getting hit a lot. So the preseason is where he got injured last year when he chipped his finger against the Raiders. Kyle Shanahan made the point that he likes those padded helmets only because it protects the quarterbacks when they follow through. Well, they don't wear the padded helmets in the preseason games. So, my hope for him is that he passes the point of the preseason being useful to him, because I honestly didn't see a lot of use tonight watching that game.
Well, clearly on defense, he didn't see any use to start anyone except really Hufanga, who's still a young player and probably needs the reps as well in space. But offensively, because Trey needs a lot of reps, it did force him to put Ayuk, Deebo, Kyle Juszczyk on the field. Because those guys, Kyle would have no problem if his quarterback was a 6-year vet, and he looked at it like LaFleur or McVay look at the preseason, and like Kyle does on defense, he wouldn't be forced to put those guys in harm's way. Like ultimately, like Juszczyk took a big hit. I mean, just because he caught a ball, he had to, got tackled. They ran Deebo deep, right? I mean, those were plays that you could run in practice and ideally maybe avoid doing in the games. But I'm hard pressed to see that they're at that point next year. He's just, because even this year, if he plays all 17 games, we'll say they make the playoffs or whatever, his still resume as a starter is relatively small compared to just the NFL, right? And just where he wants to be. And someone texted me tonight my thoughts on Trey Lance, a pretty prominent guy. And I said, part of it is he's going to be way better in several years just because he's going to improve. And I think I use Jalen Hurts as an example. Now, Jalen Hurts is not as good as him, but like when I talk to people with the Eagles, they're like, is he friggin' Donovan McNabb or Patrick Mahomes or something? Of course not. But he is so much better than he was 18 months ago. Why? Because he truly cares. It means everything to him. He's a high-level football guy. And Trey is too. Like, football means a lot. The football character is high. So when that's the case, you just improve. Now, you don't always improve to like Josh Allen's level, but I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a good example. Like, he's going to be better than people thought. Now, does that ever mean he's a top 10 quarterback? I would still bet against it. And the Eagles don't even know that, but they would tell you he is dramatically better than he was 2 years ago. And that's where I think a guy like that, like Trey, who is much more physically gifted than Jalen, will, like, I think in 2 years, he will look dramatically better than this year. But like we always say, they're judged on this season is about minimum making the playoffs and making some noise. So he can't just be a total nothing, right? He has to, they're going to need him. There's going to be several times we talk about all the time on 3rd and long. And that's where ultimately the way I described, I think this team is going to try to play is like the Patriots last year that won 11 games, defense, running the ball on steroids, because they're way more talented than that Patriot team, right? But I think that is kind of
they can be a lot more creative, I think, offensively than that Patriot team.
That's a great way to put it. They can be way more creative offensively, and defensively, honestly, they can probably be better. But I think that's going to be their philosophical. I mean, it has been under Kyle just in general, but I mean specifically, like, can this team get to 11, 12 wins playing like that? Well, it's proven. Now, you could, looking at their schedule, there are going to be games where, I mean, they're playing some pretty potent teams, right? The AFC West is going to be potentially all 4 of those teams are going to be potent on offense. The Rams, as long as Aaron Donald didn't hit Stafford in the head with the helmet, is going to be awesome. I'm not a huge fan, but like they do have weapons, and they're one thing they can do when everyone's healthy is score, and that's the Cardinals. I mean, that's how many games is that right there? That's 4 against Arizona and LA, and another 4. I mean, that's 8 games against, pretty sweet quarterbacks. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Trey, but
that's where defensively, can you neutralize in 8 of those games, keep
for
them
sure,
like,
but you still,
20.
But you still have to make some plays along the way, right? Which you still have to make some plays along the way. So a couple, I think some basic throws he made, avoided some sacks, got sacked. Herbie pointed out the tripping the Jeff Wilson Jr. on the first handoff. They were not in sync on that play, right? The first handoff of the game where Trey kind of runs into him, gets his feet tangled up with him. And Herbie read that as a little just over anxious. He missed Kittle on the 3rd down play when Kittle was open. Similar, I guess not similar to the Danny Gray throw, but in terms of just where he missed versus where the target was. Did
they ever show the replay on Kittle?
I did not see the replay.
I don't think they did either. It was like, can I tell? Now, clearly he, was way too far ahead.
He had to, it was too far out for him.
One take I had texting a buddy in the league, I was like, I wonder, and it's hard to make these like hard stances in the preseason, but it's like, and when Juice had the first down, everyone went Juice, and Al Michaels like, there's more 49er fans here. But it's still, there is a vibe when you're on the road. You went, some of these, and my head immediately, I know they open on the road, but I think you and I have been talking about it for so long. That Denver week 3 game Sunday night is going to be a mother bleeper. That would have been hard for Jimmy, but I think that thing, we've already talked about their schedule. That could easily be 2-0 versus 2-0, and that place could be beyond bananas. And if you told me that he just looks complete, career.
I thought early in the game, like part of what happened against the Texans, right? It felt like Kyle was throwing the ball. Kyle was throwing the ball more against the Texans than he normally would to start a game, is what it felt like to me, because he just wanted Trey to throw the football. But I would imagine that Denver game is going to be a lot of running the ball early. Today, it was clear, then he started running the ball more with Trey when he just wanted to get Trey out of there in that last series. I think he realized maybe this isn't what we should be doing. But I expect him to run the ball a lot, especially early in that Denver game. John is broken.
I don't know how are we doing? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. How's your speed test? How's your UCLA?
You know what I've been
doing? You
hardline
today?
No, I mean, it arrived. I just didn't grab it because we had so much success the other day. But that'll be a hard line.
All right. Well, it's a little better now, so we'll continue on. Shitty for the intern that's got to edit that later, but no biggie. Actually, gives us a perfect chance to move on. Maybe. Okay. Gives us a perfect chance to move on to the offensive line. And there was a lot of tonight, how could he perform behind this offensive line? But while it's less than ideal, this is his offensive line. And it's part of why he's here. They'd be worse off if Jimmy Garoppolo was behind this offensive line, I think. Don't you?
well, he'd be screwed. I mean, I let me rephrase that. They looked. I mean, the guard, Jalen Moore, was terrible. I mean, there was a play where he did not touch the defensive end. Now, to me, the guards and the centers are just going to be a work in progress. That's the part of young players. I have less worry in games when you can specifically game plan stuff, but working
Last thing I heard was game plan stuff. Is that what everybody else heard?
on here. How do we have so much success the other day?
So much success. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, it happened after you restarted your computer, but we were even we talked for 20 minutes before we started this. There was no issues.
But I just restarted it before we even hopped on.
Yeah. It's crazy. Weird.
Turn the iPad off. You just never know.
Are you streaming anything over there? Maybe your Amazon Prime is still streaming.
No, I turned the TV off.
You downloading any music on LimeWire right now? Maybe that's what it is. Downloading
iPad
music?
Okay, how are we doing now?
I mean, somebody on the stream pointing out that you made fun of people's internet speeds today on Twitter as your internet is faulty. It's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
That is. But in fairness, the Amazon Prime was perfect on the television.
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. You think after all, giving Bezos credit for a good broadcast, he'd protect your internet tonight.
I know, he's screwing me.
All right, back to your point. What were you talking about? Alex Leatherwood? I don't remember.
Is this working though?
I mean, it's keep going.
Yeah, I mean,
You want to start over? Take two.
Yeah.
This would be so much better for the edit. Here we go. You know, John, a lot of people critical of the Niners offensive line, which lacked starting tackles. But to me, it was an example, and I think to you it was an example tonight of why they need Trey Lance. Would Jimmy Garoppolo be able to produce behind this offensive? God damn it. All right, we got to do something here. What's our move?
Yeah, we might just need to shut it down and record the pod.
Let me think for a second. Do you want to do a speed? Do you want to check your speed? Let him do a speed test. We'll this counts as a preseason game for us too, I guess. Ham playing their third preseason game. 17 days away from the opener.
Oh, my internet speed is low.
Is it low? Well, I wonder why. I say put up a picture on John. It's not a terrible idea. Just put up a photo of you over you. But his audio, keep it going. Tito's and shit Wi-Fi. I know you just gave it a restart. I know. We got two options, I think. I think we got three options. We got shut it down, record it, put it out later, get it fixed for next time. We got restart, try the restart again. We got try and run the hard line, but that'll take, a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to walk out there and go bad.
Let
me just try to do a quick restart.
All right. I'm going to tag somebody else in to host the show while you're restarting. Turn off your watch. Just do the audio. Not a terrible idea. I guess we could try and kill his video. I know. I got here's the thing. I got the fiber, which these upload speeds are about 850 over here up in these parts. You remember last year when my Xfinity, I don't know if anybody in the Bay Area remembers this, my Xfinity went out during the NFC Championship game, and I had to go to MIDDLEKAUFF's. And after that happened, I got AT&T fiber to go with the Xfinity internet. Maybe we could try the audio. That's a good option, Stephen. So maybe we could try that. I know. I don't know what walk out to where, like around the corner, down the hallway. Put me in, coach. Well, give me some takes. Let's react to some takes here. What you got? Xfinity 1.2 gig up and 40. Yeah, that's I am the save it guy. You goddamn right. Yeah, I agree. Want to see his beautiful face. Is this the definition of too many chefs in the kitchen? No, everyone's on tech support here. Week 1 takes. Bears. Well, you're not going to have Jimmie Ward. Would help to have Elijah Mitchell back. You're going to have Charvarius. The good news, here's the other thing. Yeah, I know. It was brutal tonight. Charvarius Ward comes back next week. Charvarius Ward returns. All right. Just as Middlekoff has returned. Somebody suggested you could just kill your video and just do audio, but I don't know if that's
I don't know what's going on.
Same. Do a little speed test again while we'll just don't worry. Don't pay attention to us, John. We'll just hang here. There's the shaved guy. How about, by the way, I mean, shout out to Ryan Fitzpatrick, whose testosterone levels have to be borderline illegal.
They are pretty high.
How is Fitz not testing over the legal limit with the amount of hair that he has on his body?
His beard is insanely thick.
His really beard is it's like a bristle. Was it a bristle pad?
Bristle?
No.
Yeah.
Bristle pad. The chest hair. I don't know if you saw the interview, but he was like, zippers. Whoever put me he's like, whoever put him in the zipper, which sometimes I'll wear. I wear a chain and like Brillo pad. Thank you. Haberman or Middlekoff doesn't do a lot of dishwashing. But like the chain will get caught in the chest hair and it's just brutal. I don't think interviewing head coaches during quarters is a terrible idea. I don't think that's like a regular season thing. I think that's a preseason thing. They are so much more involved in everything. They're so much more involved in everything than like a basketball coach is.
Season.
Huh? What did you say? I got to defend John here because he did everything right. He set up the good internet. He got it dialed in. He upgraded it and tested it. Bristol, Connecticut. That is a meme right there. Kyle looked unfocused. Yeah, he wasn't exactly playing chess today, dialing up all of his favorite plays. So I don't really care. I mean, we could record off live. The problem is we still have the same issue. So I think if we do this not live, John, you'll probably have to hardline it. But that may just be the move.
You think no matter what?
I think live or not, we're going to have this issue. Unless you hardline, which we can do.
I'll go get the hardline.
Do you want me to hang out with everybody or shut it down?
I'd probably shut it down.
All right. How long do you think? Go get the hard line. I'm going to just text me. All right. He's going to go get the hard line. The show will have to debut at another date. Although we did get the Trey Lance topic in. That's a great question, Nees. That's a good question. Early Friday morning stream. I'm going to doubt it. I know. Believe me. You think this hurts you? This hurts me. You think I poured this full glass of Tito's just to hang out with Middlekoff by myself? No, I did not. Latest Jimmy prediction. I'll give you my latest Jimmy prediction. I heard Seahawks. So next on August 30th, they got to get down to 53 men. At 1 p.m. Pacific, it's a 53-man cut down. They don't owe them the money till September 10th, but they got to get down to 53 by 1 p.m. Pacific. So my prediction is that Jimmy Garoppolo gets cut next Tuesday before 1 p.m. Pacific because I think they got too many good players to waste a roster spot on Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, if they were to do that, then they would take it all the way up to, like September 9, September 10. And then I would really believe Michael Lombardi's theory. Michael Lombardi is adamant that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to go to the Seahawks, that the Seahawks want Garoppolo, that Garoppolo is going to go to the Seahawks, and that the reason the 49ers aren't cutting him is because they are not going to trade him to the Seahawks, and they play the Seahawks week 2. they don't want Garoppolo playing in that game. So they're trying to make life as difficult as possible for the Seahawks. He's adamant. I tried to look at DraftKings Sportsbook didn't have betting odds on Garoppolo's destination, but I heard Lombardi say that there were somewhere else there were betting odds for it, and that the Seahawks are the favorites. So, am I going to USC Stanford on the 10th? I am not. I will be at Cal that day, Cal UNLV. I'm working that day. That game might be a night game though. So, what time is that game? Cal UNLV is a 1:00 game. What time is USC Stanford that day? This is where I get that. I need those Elgato hotkeys in here, and I have the schedule ready to roll. Michael Lombardi? No, David Lombardi is a Central Valley guy. I met him at a Fresno State baseball game, David Lombardi, many years ago. Michael Lombardi is who I'm talking about. I don't think Michael Lombardi is not a Central Valley guy. But anyway, USC Stanford's a really good week 2 game. You know, we got games, Saturday? We got games Saturday. I'll give you a sneaky week 1 game. Oregon State, Boise State. Sneaky week 1 game. Florida, Utah is a phenomenal week 1 game. I'm just here doing this until MIDDLEKAUFF is like, shut it down. Michael says, Ham meetup on Monday Night Football in October. Meetup where? Meetup where? DM me a meetup location. Fields should have been the pick of the 3. I disagree. I would have taken Trey Lance over Zach Wilson too. Of the 4, I would have taken Trey Lance. And at this point, it's like 50-50, 50-50 that Justin Fields is going to be good. UW taking the Pac-12. You know, UW's schedule is really good. We're going to talk. I got to talk Niners later tonight, so I'll do this. UW has a really good schedule. Washington has a really good schedule. They play Michigan State at home early in the season. I think they're underrated how good they are defensively. I think their receivers are really good. I think all they need is solid quarterback play because their coach is really good. So traveling from out of state for the game, a bar in the Bay. You know, somebody asked me the other day about advice for tailgating at Levi's or going to a bar at Levi's. And I had to say, like, I've been to Levi's many times. I haven't seen the bar that I go to and then go to the game. So, but then again, I wasn't looking for it because I go straight in. I like the pregame stuff. So if somebody has some advice on that, DM me and I can pass that along. Bruce says more likely to make the team, Sermon or McKivitz. I'm going to go McKivitz. Kezar Pub, I assume that is, Chris. Is he your boss? Why can't you keep this going by yourself? Why do you need his permission? Because I got to split the revenue. Actually, the real answer is because we're going to do a show tonight. The question is just, do we do it live or record it? USC making the Final Four this year, Eddie? I don't think so, but I do think they're going to be good. I think not enough people are talking about their other receiver, Mario Williams, opposite of Jordan Addison. I think Mario Williams might have more touchdowns this year than Jordan Addison does. He played with Caleb Williams at Oklahoma, looked really good in the spring game. Did I see somebody bet $400 on Fresno State to win the Natty? Yes, I did see that. The 9 p.m. solo show, like the old radio days. That's right, Jeremy. That was back in the day. I did 9 to 11, which is, I mean, basically digging ditches. This is good. All right. Somebody just so I'll share this with you guys. Somebody just put this on. Somebody just tagged me in this tweet. Here we go. That's good. Oh, I can do this one. I like this one. Lombardi uses this one. I like this. I like this view. Not the ideal time slot. No, they don't put the heavy hitters in the 9 to 11. Can we do some A's talk? They're down 10-0. There were ants in the booth at for the Yankees today. Locke or Geno? Neither. It's going to be Garoppolo. Trey Lance over under 10 picks this year. Over. But that's okay. I mean, how many touchdowns does he throw? That's what's really going to matter. Oh. I mean, you told me to shut it down, but we were just hanging. I figured I would shut it down when you were you look good. Did you plug in Hardline? I don't want to knock on wood here.
So when I turn off the Wi-Fi, does it automatically kick in?
Yeah, if you go up to system preferences, let me do it. Everybody, if you could just follow along here. John, if you go to system preferences in the upper left-hand corner on the Apple, click on the Apple, go to system preferences. Now go to a network, that blue circle.
Yep.
And you should see if your Ethernet is connected.
It says connected USB.
So you're good. If you've got it connected through an adapter, a USB adapter.
Well, I have this adapter thing that plugs into my computer and then ran a little. I got a 75 foot. I mean, this thing could go around 7 buildings. It is attaboy. So it looks crisp now.
It looks fantastic. You fixed it. Do you want to do a speed test before we add a? I mean, this reminds me of doing like high school radio back in many years ago, where you would like.
Oh my! The speed test. Oh,
what'd you get?
I mean, I'm seeing.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! How did he freeze? What was your speed? How did you freeze? Sometimes, you know what? The speed test sometimes makes you freeze. I'm gonna think positive. Think positive. Test negative. What was your speed?
350.
Okay. You shouldn't be skipping out. Sometimes the speed test takes a little juice. You know, it's like sprinting. You need a second to catch your breath afterwards. Speed test killed the connection, somebody said. Hold on. Let me go to this. Is he frozen or are you frozen? This is not Ham's finest hour. It's really a miracle. We've done shows as long as we've been doing shows, streaming on the internet. I think it's the first time this happened. Need to look at the ping. Yeah, I don't know what his ping. I'm pinging at 6 right now. I don't know what he's pinging at. Testing will stop the connection. Maybe he is just frozen. All right, I'm going to tell him. Why did I tell him to speed test? It'll be okay, James. It'll. Yeah. So he's going. Oh no, he's gonna be so mad. Yeah. I don't know. We didn't get the upload speed is what comes after you do the download speed. So I don't know. I don't know what his upload speed is. The question is, will I delete the show off of YouTube? It's going to be a real bummer when somebody watches this thing tomorrow and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna." I think he did turn off the Wi-Fi, but I'll check with him. I've got it. He's going to call me in a second. I've got a call coming here, guaranteed. It's going to be a bummer for somebody tomorrow when they check in on the show, and then 20 minutes in, it just goes off the rails. This is one of your favorite shows? Yeah, I don't have the lime with me. It's back in the kitchen, but I do have the Tito's. Maybe that's why I'm rolling with the punches tonight. Ham hats anytime soon? God, I'll tell you what, man. So we tried to reset the router. You want me to tell them? You tell them to reset the router. We tried to do there's a specific hat I want that we want. And it's this one. It's this. This is actually a Jones golf hat, but it's this hat. 18 months to get that hat made. 18 months. Maybe 13 months, but long time. So we might have, we're working through all of that. Raiders Chargers live stream was the best stream ever. What stream was that? It's like a green. I can't get it right now. DM me and I'll tell you. Hardline isn't coming up. I'm having too much fun. I don't want to hang this up and. I'm going to voice to text. Hold on. How mad is John right now? Very mad. Very mad. Ryan, this game felt pretty innocuous, except for the O-line. Purdy, innocuous. Bryce Purdy was innocuous, or the game was innocuous? Yeah, it was pretty innocuous. The only thing is, like, the interior offensive line is going to have to play. Like, those guys have to play. So, for them, it was very real. Florio thinks Jimmy ends up with the Texans. Florio's been saying that for a while. I mean, I remember he said it like 3 weeks ago or a month ago. Is Florio still on that? Texans? Is he still on that? Somebody tell me if Florio's still on that. What is that, Cameron? I don't even want to put it on the screen because it feels like some. Was that a drug? What is that? Is that a hair product? Mills look damn good. I think they're in a tough spot. Like, oh, it's Rogaine? No, it's all natural. I think they're in a tough spot. But there are David Shaw. David Shaw was on this podcast like 2020, and he said that Davis Mills could be a first round pick. All right, hold on. Let me get the. Hold on one sec here.
It doesn't connect.
The Ethernet's not connecting.
But it's plugged in. But when I turn it off,
when you turn off the Wi-Fi, you get nothing.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested.
I remember I had this issue when I first set this thing up.
Yeah.
And I don't exactly. I don't remember. It's been so long.
Somebody on the chat said try restart. The router needs to be restarted. Like,
I could see that.
Plug the router back in.
Yeah.
So if you want to try that. I mean, I'm just hanging. I know you're probably 5 minutes away from saying let's do it Friday.
No, well, I'm playing golf tomorrow. We're doing this tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, try that. Go restart the router. Oh. He's got something to do tomorrow, so that's not an option. The problem, he's got to turn off the Wi-Fi when he does that. Lynn, thank you. Needs to be unplugged for 30 seconds to reset the settings. What needs to be unplugged? Oh, yeah, leave it unplugged. Hold on. Text on the computer is so much better than texting on the phone. I don't know if this is this him frozen or is this him not frozen? That's right, Darren. We are doing it live. Well, but the problem, Eric, is we just got to do it right because it's gonna if he's not on the hard line. Let me take this moment to ask everybody to subscribe to the channel. Oops. Son of a bitch. That didn't go well. Get rid of current comment. Get rid of current comment. There we go. There we go. I mean, while you're here, if anything, we're good-natured. Somebody asked a question I wanted. Oh, somebody just asked me favorite. Let me get rid of this thing. Favorite Pac-12 football stadium? Favorite Pac-12 football stadium? Hard to beat Autzen. Autzen is as advertised where the Oregon Ducks play. I think Colorado is just. Last year I did a Colorado game on a Friday. It's gorgeous. The weather is so great. The downtown is fantastic. They get great crowds no matter, even if they're not great. So I think Colorado, let me think. So Autzen, Colorado, I love. I think where Washington State plays, very underrated. It's a smaller stadium. It's like 34,000, but you get views for days. It's beautiful. The sun sets on the Palouse. The weather can be really good. It can be really cold, but the weather can be really good. So I would say that. What's so good about Oregon Stadium? The noise. It just feels so big time in there. It feels so big time. I have not watched the Manti Te'o doc. I wasn't going to because I just felt so bad for him, and I don't know if I wanted to do it. And then I was going to. The Middlekauff said it was okay, so I didn't. But maybe one day. Yeah, Reser Stadium, Oregon State's place. I really liked it before because they had like this really cool like party deck area, and now they're remodeling it, and they're gonna have a smaller crowd this year, but it could be pretty sweet. I've had one of my favorite nights in football ever was at Utah. That's a good spot. I think Stanford is like the perfect stadium. It's just they need better crowds. When was the last time you had Doghouse? For people who don't know, Doghouse Grill is barbecue. If you're in California, you're ever driving from southern to northern or vice versa, and you drive Highway 99, you need to stop in Fresno. You need to stop at Doghouse Grill, or if you're in San Luis Obispo, you go to Firestone. Same exact thing. You need the barbecue sandwich. You need fries. Those are the two things you need. You need extra barbecue sauce on the side to dip the sandwich. You need ranch on the side for the fries. That's your meal. Highly recommend. It's been a long time. And I had a buddy go to Fresno not long ago, and I asked him to bring me a sandwich back. I was more than happy to take it. 3-hour delay. And they didn't. You listed every stadium. No, I listed like 4. I said Autzen. I said Colorado. I said I like Martin Stadium. That's 3. Then I also said Reser is cool, and I really like Utah also, and Stanford could be good. So that's half the league. But it's not all of them. Middlekauff just texted. He said, ask the people, does it matter Portal 1 or Portal 2 on the router? I don't think it does. But I'll ask. That's what I just said. What's your favorite place for sandwiches in the Bay? I'm moving to East Palo Alto from LA. Okay, so I just found this it's existed, but since I was going down to the Niners practice at Levi Stadium, most of my sandwich places would be in the North Bay. But actually, Kid Trickster, good news for you, because I just had a place called Crust Sourdough. It's like, 8 minutes from Levi Stadium. It's very close to Levi Stadium. And it was fantastic. I'd never had it before. I've had it now twice in like a 2-week span because I would go there after a Niners practice and get it. And it was very good. Loved it. So Crust, I would say that's closer to you. I don't really have any other sandwich places in the South Bay. If you want anybody want North Bay sandwich places, DM me. What's this place right over here that I really like? I love sandwiches. I love to go to Saul's Deli in Berkeley. That's a good spot. I don't know. I can't find the other place. California Sourdough off Oakland Road 101. Okay, great. Did anyone see the Rams-Bengals fight? Yes. St. John's on Lawrence is close to Levi's, pretty good too. When USC plays at Wisconsin, you got to come if it's in September, October. What year when is that on the schedule? I forgot if that's Washington State goes to Wisconsin this year. Zingerman's Deli in Ann Arbor. Love that place. Port doesn't matter, but you got to use USB. The network preference of using the USB adapter. Yeah. Okay. I think he said that's what it auto chose. Phil's Fish Market in the coast. Which coast? Where is that? Have not been to that place in Clayton. doing screen grabs. Oh my god, these are good. This is a good one. This is a good one. This is a good one. I mean, not our finest hour, but this is a good one. Hold on, let me share it. Nathan, who's in Australia, I know because he said it earlier in the chat. That's a good one. That's a good one. Gales on the coast. Love that spot. I'm going to Sausalito on Saturday before I go to I'm going to the Yankee A's game on Saturday. I'm going to go to Sausalito before the game. Was planning to go to this pizza place up there, but I don't know if anybody has any other suggestions. I don't spend a lot of time in Marin, so I'm not sure. Let me see what other takes I don't want to use all the takes that I know we're going to get to. We got a lot of topics we're going to get to eventually, so I don't want to waste those. But feel free to ask. Yeah, for the people who didn't know this, he tweeted something about everyone complaining about their Amazon Prime sucks for them because I got good internet, and then this happens. That's Capitola. Yes, Gales, man, you can go to Gales 3 times a day, 7 days a week. Anytime I drive through that, so good. Hi, John.
It just won't connect.
So when you go to system preferences, does it show the? Oh, that's fine. I can take a break. Brock or Nate? I thought after tonight Brock, but there's actually we'll have a Nate Purdy conversation about it. While John is waiting, I'll let him at least look at this so he can get a chuckle. Yeah, you got a chuckle. That made him laugh. That was good. Try MIDDLEKAUFF on the right. What does that mean? It's Cox Internet. Cox Commander. I can't hear you. Nope. But that's all right. I mean, if I can see it, we're making progress. If I can see you. Who is the one man in the NFL you think you'd take in a fight? Still can't hear you. Dan Campbell. Did he freeze or is he just really happy? MIDDLEKAUFF gets the Walter Payton Award tonight for calm in the face of great adversity. Still can't hear you, but I can see you. Oh, you're muted. Let's unmute your mic. Your mic. It says your mic's not connected.
I'm muted. I was muted the whole time. When I plug in to the Ethernet cord,
what?
When I plug into the Ethernet cord to the router to then my computer, it just does not show up. That's what's weird.
So when you,
I'm plugged into the Ethernet.
But when you go to the network settings, remember you said it shows you USB Ethernet before?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it showing you USB Ethernet?
It shows me USB. It's like the USB. See, I have this like, does
it have a green dot next to it?
Yeah, it says connected.
And what about Wi-Fi?
Well, Wi-Fi is connected, but the USB thing is like this USB adapter, right? That is what I plug the Ethernet cord into, and like lights and other shit. It says it's in, but yet when I turn off the Wi-Fi, there's no other internet, and
Oh,
that's weird.
Anybody in the chat got a take on that?
Click network, select Ethernet, and list to the left. Yeah, see, it's just then choose your ISP recommendations. I think that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Did you do those things?
Yeah, I tried, It's not.
I mean, dare we?
Plug into your computer, not your port.
It's connected to the port.
Can you do it to your computer?
No, it doesn't have the deal.
Of the adapter. Maybe I can run something over to you. I got this one. I'll be there in a minute.
But see, this has always worked. This is always what I've used. This is I took this from my house.
So maybe just because it's different internet. People are getting real cocky on the chat. They're like, it's working now. So what are we waiting for?
Yeah. Let's just see it. Let it rip. Why not?
Don't want to state the obvious, but it's working out. Obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, none of this is going to get edited out. This is all going to stay in. Think of all the programmatic ads we could put in this podcast when it's 3 hours long.
It'd be pretty incredible.
I may leave it in. I won't leave it in. I may release it as a separate. You know what I'll do, John? The last 30 minutes, I'll put it on the Raiders guy post-game feed.
That's a smart move.
You need a Tito's over there? Or you good?
I'm good. Yeah, shit. You're not always going to throw 4 touchdowns.
I was saying earlier, it's amazing that this is the first time I mean, we've had some like spotty internet things, but in over 2 years, it's the first time we've really had something bad like that. Like this. I don't want to say that as if it's definitely in the past, but yeah. Anybody time to dive in on the Niners?
Yeah, let's try it.
All right, let me let's make a note here. All right. You know, anyone that goes to a concert of a major act knows they don't really show up until several hours after it's listed. So this is nothing crazy. Shall we begin again?
Yeah, let's try.
You need a little we'll pick it up where we left off, but just all right. John, you know, this offensive line. Where are you golfing tomorrow?
Phoenician.
What is that? Cool place?
Yeah, it's just a hotel with a golf course. But the golf now, you know, it forced me to pay up front. It was one of those. I got a super deal.
What time?
Like 9:30 in the morning.
So that's I mean, Friday 9:30 a.m. is a good and expensive time to golf.
Yeah, I'd say the one thing around. Yeah, once it gets about I think 11:30, 12, all the courses open up. People just don't like the heat.
Yeah,
right.
Gotcha.
It's not even that. It's 100 degrees. I mean, shit, it was that when Walnut Creek.
All right, well, let's dive back in. Shout out to John and the support team there at Ham South for getting this fired back up. Lynn asks, can you plug the Ethernet directly into the modem? We've done that. Thank you.
Well, it's plugged in. Maybe honestly, it's working better because that's what it's like now.
Maybe. 3, 2. Well, John, a lot of criticism for the 49ers offensive line tonight, and I think fair, but that game almost served as an example of why Trey Lance should be playing. Because if Jimmy Garoppolo were still their quarterback, this would still be their offensive line. And I think young quarterbacks tend to run into sacks, but there's one thing with Trey. He's going to help run out of some problems that I don't expect it to look like that. They didn't have their starting tackles tonight, but he's going to have to cover up some mistakes for them. And he probably will.
Isn't that why they took the swing? Isn't looking for with not working.
Like, it was great. And the second you started talking.
What's going? I mean, is it because it knows that you hit record?
Are we still on? I'm going to try it again. You know, John, this offensive line is going to get a lot of heat, rightfully so. They didn't have their 2 starting tackles. It was an example, that Texans game, of why you need Trey Lance to play. Because Jimmy Garoppolo behind that line, maybe gets the ball out quicker, but he might take more sacks than Trey's going to take this year.
Yeah, I mean... It's like the outtakes from what's it called? The Office, when everyone just starts laughing.
All right, here we go. 3, 2. Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm Billy.
All right, here we go. You know, John, this offensive line, down 2 tackles, but that interior line, like, that's really their line. I think the game against the Texans was an example of how Trey Lance can try and save them a few times this year. Garoppolo behind that line would get the ball out faster probably, but he might also take more sacks.
Yeah, if you think about like all the top quarterbacks in the league that all can move, is the reason that they drafted this guy to try to replicate what they had, seen around the league, from Josh Allen to Mahomes to obviously Lamar and Kyler, guys that can just Justin Herbert keep plays alive with their legs. And remember, he said that they wanted Lamar Jackson meets Drew Brees. Well, I think it's pretty clear we ain't getting Drew Brees, and we're not quite getting Lamar Jackson, but we are. I think Trey has shown he's a little lighter on his feet. I feel this year, don't you? It's not quite as heavy footed, of just a little more confidence moving around back there. I feel like he's just a little quicker, a little more, little sprite. It feels like he understands the speed of the game better than last year, which is very understandable, right? Taking a year off, getting thrown into that Arizona Cardinal game, which I forget that sometimes. I mean, at the time, they were the best team in the league. They were undefeated. And the one thing they do have on that defense is like stupid team speed, right? I mean, their best player, Budda Baker, is just like kind of this hybrid hitter.
Yeah.
Isaiah Simmons is even a bigger version of that. He's not as good as Budda, but like same type deal. They can fly. And that game, it was a run heavy game for him, but the speed was pretty overwhelming. And it feels like he's a little more, just even watching him at practice. I'm not trying to make like grand judgments on preseason games, but it definitely feels like his legs are more normalized this year of what we kind of thought we were getting.
Which is really,
it's probably more
connected to his brain, right?
Yeah, and just knowing that he can move. Like, not every guy is going to be Isaiah Simmons fast, right? Some guys are faster than others, and that's just, to me, when you are running and you're not like Lamar or Kyler, where you can run away from every single person. That is where game plans help. Like, this guy can fly. This guy can't really run. There was a Hard Knocks moment in the third episode. Wasn't quite as good. But
I turned it off after 5 minutes.
It was pretty bad. But the joint practices were okay. Was a scene where Deuce is screaming at the running backs, but he doesn't have a voice. He lost his voice, and he's so mad that he can't scream. So he's like, it's so funny. Screaming, swearing at him. But the backup, like one of the backup safeties, is in the preseason game against the Colts, and he goes, the backup quarterback's in, he can't move like the other guy. Maybe it's like a third stringer relative to the second stringer, but like specific, like this guy can't run, so tee off. Don't worry about like the other guy that can take off.
Yeah.
But to me, that just symbolizes, like, in the NFL, a huge part about like the game plan is knowing the strengths and weaknesses of every player. And as a quarterback, isn't that all we talk about? Like how Tom and Peyton and Drew and Aaron, they know everything about every guy. And obviously when you can run, it really helps. Like, this guy can't run, this guy can. I know I need to get out of bounds when this guy's cutting me off. I can outrun this guy. And that's going to be a huge element. I mean, we often talk, there's a lot going on for this guy coming into these games, right?
Well, and he doesn't have all the help that he's going to have, right? That interior line is a concern. I think you'd have to admit that it's not good. Now, maybe they can overcome it. And I think one of the ways they overcome it, Juszczyk is back there helping you. Hasty on third downs is back there. They trust him. Obviously, Kittle is there, and they trust him. So that line is going to have more help than it had tonight. And then, of course, the tackles. I mean, I think McGlinchey, we'll see. He's not 100%, but Trent Williams back. So
it feels like he's barely played throughout the preseason, even the practices we've been at, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's had
Kinlaw's been more active than McGlinchey.
Well, it hasn't been close. Like, Kinlaw hasn't, like McGlinchey, he had the surgery for his torn quad. I heard Barrow say he's had multiple PRP shots. So whether or not
is it not going well?
I don't know how badly it's going, but it's not going perfect. Like, I think we can say that, right? So, but I think ultimately, I always go back to this. I don't want to beat a dead horse. The thing that has stood out, one of the reasons I'm optimistic about Trey is that when he breaks the pocket, he does look to throw the ball. Now, is he going to get strip sacked because he just doesn't tuck it and run once or twice? Maybe he might, right? He may get sacked a couple times where does not attack the line of scrimmage with his legs because he's looking to throw. But to me, at the end of the day, I would take that quality 10 out of 10 times from a quarterback, even if it means early on he might get caught from somebody chasing him down from the backside. I think maybe we see him run more, but I'm with you. I thought he did look a little more comfortable just in knowing in the clock in his head how much time he had to either break, like really break for it, or get rid of the football or throw it, whatever the case is. And he's going to need that skill. But, I don't want, to me, it's just about him taking hits. Like the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl last year with a horrid offensive line. You don't want to have Trey Lance in that situation that Joe Burrow was in, but part of why they survived it, this guy coming off an ACL, Joe Burrow, but he was athletic enough to help them make plays. And then we can talk about it, but Kyle understands, like the coach knows what a strength and the weakness of his own team is. And you do things to account for that. Once they get into a game and they are pounding the rock also, I think
to me that plays 100%. I mean, I think we're just looking at these guys like they just blow, and it may turn out that way that, Burford's overmatched in certain moments or Aaron Banks is, but I think we do have to, the ebb and flow of a game is so much different than preseason. I mean, say one thing, the one thing that's going to stick out to me about this preseason is the 10 minutes I watched one Monday Night Football game, and Dan Orlovsky was like, well, guys, because it was something was going well in the preseason, I think for the Falcons or whatever game they were calling. And he's like, I was a part of that 0-16 Lions team. Never forget, we dominated the preseason. We went 4-0. And I think sometimes, because even tonight, you're like, God, that's a pretty gutless effort. And you're like, this doesn't fucking matter at all. Who cares? But when you're watching it, I'm just thinking like, what is going on? And then you think about this. They played Minnesota. They do joint practices. They play what was it, Saturday night. They have 2 joke practices this week, and then they play, like, it's not like every team's playing tonight. So a lot of teams are playing like Saturday.
It's a short week preseason game, is your point.
Short week preseason game, and they look lifeless.
Which should be illegal, really, when you think about it. Now, I know it's different players, but not some of the guys played in both games.
All this stuff. How are the Bengals and the Rams? They just played in the Super Bowl. They're doing joint practices. What are we doing? I mean, you don't think there's some animosity? If I'm on the Bengals and I'm going up against some of these guys, I'm thinking like, we were leading. We could have won the Super Bowl. That might cross my mind when the guy's like taking a cheap shot. Like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, what these joint practice, the Raiders and the Patriots are playing a preseason game. These preseason games make no sense. Like Houston, in theory, like you just say it out loud, like Barry, Houston doesn't feel that far. I bet it's a 3.5-hour flight.
I mean, the Patriots Raiders doesn't make sense because of how far they are, but it does make sense because they're joint practicing because Bill and Josh are cool or tight.
Yeah, but they might have done that if Gruden, like they would have played them regardless of the coach. This isn't like a college game where they could set it up. I mean, they just
did that game get scheduled before Josh got the Raider job?
Would have had to have.
Did it last year? They
game?
scheduled a preseason game. The preseason.
Oh yeah, maybe not. But I just mean like once the preseason, Bill joint practices against Fresno State. Like he joint practices at every team he plays
because he knows Pat though. I wonder, did he ever joint practice with Nick Saban when Saban was the Dolphins coach? I wonder.
Probably not because they were in the same division, right?
Yeah. Not for
but
long.
He
then
might
Saban
have
went to the SEC West. East? West. Yeah. John, before we go any further, let's tell the people. I mean, we thank you, by the way. We thank you for your patience, your dedication to the stream tonight. But we also want to tell you about our friends at Sleep Number. sleepnumber.com/ham. sleepnumber.com/ham, whether your sleep number's a little softer like John, who likes it around a 40, or me, a little firmer. I like it at a 55. You choose proven quality sleep from Sleep Number because it's the biggest sale of the year, where all the smart beds are on sale with 50% savings on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed. It's a great time to discover adjustable comfort for the both of you. sleepnumber.com/ham. sleepnumber.com/ham. Hey, summer's coming to an end, so you got to get everybody back on their regular sleep schedules. School-age kids. 10 hours will do the trick for the school-age kids. Too little sleep impairs their ability to learn new information. The teens and tweens, they're in the 9 to 10 hour range. Tweens is a funny word. The parents, they need sleep too. 7 to 9 hours, that's what we're aiming for. Sleep IQ sleepers with kids attain an average of 30 minutes more restful sleep during the weekends compared to weekdays. You get that sleep IQ data, you're going to get about 28 more minutes of restful sleep per night. That's 170 hours per year. So choose proven quality sleep from Sleep Number because every day starts the night before. Discover special offers now for limited time at your local Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com/ham.
We still live?
Take that one. All right, so there is one thing we haven't seen yet from Trey Lance and Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance, right? Game planning.
Which we saw last year when they played the 2 games, and we saw in regular season games, because Kyle Shanahan, what's the Niners' best asset? I was thinking about this tonight. It probably truly is Nick Bosa, if he is as good as we all think he's going to be, because that means he's might be the best pass rusher in the league, or right there with Myles Garrett, and that means you're worth non-quarterback making $120 million guaranteed. Shows you how good you are. So you could argue, like, if you just had a draft, would Nick Bosa go ahead of Kyle Shanahan? Like, because even Trent, like, God love him, he is older.
I don't think so.
You think Kyle Shanahan would go?
I mean, it depends, right? If you told me you can get Shanahan and Mike and a LaFleur, or you can get Shanahan, Bosa, which coach are you getting? Are you getting Bosa and McCarthy? Well, in some snake draft, like, that's not doing you any good. I'm serious, right?
Yeah, you're right. Because you would probably, like, let's just say, for example, if you knew Andy Reid had 8 more healthy seasons as a head coach, assuming Belichick's kind of done, would he be you wouldn't take a player over Andy Reid, or would you take Mahomes or Josh Allen over Andy Reid?
Yeah, you might take a superstar quarterback.
Non-quarterback.
If John Lynch
would you take Andy Reid over every player?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, well, without question.
Yeah. Okay, so then Kyle Shanahan would go, like, if he's your best asset, and he obviously is the offensive play caller too, that's the thing in the preseason game. Now, I've never been around Kyle in, like, the behind-the-scenes settings, getting ready for a preseason game. Andy scripts his preseason plays. Not like today for Len Dawson, they got in, like, the huddle that he used to get in. Like, I'm not talking something like, I'm talking like they have 7-8 plays or 15 plays that he scripts for the preseason. And then he tells, like, Al or whoever's calling his game, like Nance, like, yeah, we're just out here screwing around, seeing what works, guys. And it's like bang, bang, boom. It's like, come on, Andy. but my point is, it's clear when you watch them, like, these guys are not messing around. But after the first drive, they don't care. And then they just start calling random plays. The one thing with Kyle tonight, I would be shocked if he didn't script some plays. The problem is, even if you have the first 15 scripted, which I'm sure they did, right? Because they had the week off, like, in terms of Trey didn't play in the game, so they could have done it over the weekend, start, like, kind of developing. And they played this team last year where Lovey was the defensive coordinator. So, like, they already had some stuff traded specifically. And it was clearly a different game plan than earlier in the season.
And I would add to it, John, and he only wanted a few series for Trey. So he wanted to do specific things. I think he would probably throw the ball with Trey more tonight than he will, like, week 1 against the Bears' first drive.
And for example, tonight, once the offensive line couldn't block me or you, it does throw everything out of kilter, right?
Yeah.
It was clear, like, they weren't really moving the ball. So you're like, it's not like he's just going to give Trey a quarter. He's going to go. But then it got to the point, like, well, he could get injured. So we got to, like, I think his plan was to score some points. And then that last drive before Trey came out, when it felt like could get really hurt because the offensive tackle couldn't touch the defensive end. And this isn't J.J. Watt in his prime. These are kind of random. I don't think the Texans on paper are viewed as, like, the group who most people think have some elite defensive line. So it kind of threw everything off. I wonder if Kyle thinks, like, did we really gain that much tonight? It's more like the offensive lineman, and we know maybe Jalen Moore, it wasn't good. And it really throws off your rhythm. But Kyle's proven a couple years ago, because I was thinking Tyron Smith today, right? Did you see the injury? It's like his knee with the hamstring ripping off the bone. It just sounds,
I think it's the same as the Jets, Mekhi Becton. Same injury.
So when that happens right now, there is no, like, well, we can patch mail this till he's back. Like when Joe Staley broke his leg, it's like, we think he'll miss 5 games. We got a bye week.
Trent Williams missing the Rams game last year.
Trent Williams, one game to me, you got to be able to handle, but can you handle a month or whatever? Like the Cowboys, they got to handle the season. The 49ers you saw today, like, could this guy start a month? But then you also go back to, well, they've done this before with AAF guys, and he just schemed around it. But the key on that with Kyle is, like, they got to be running the ball well. Because the one thing that I don't care who you are, that there's no analytics, there's no scheme, there's nothing that can circumvent. If your left tackle cannot pass block, or your right tackle, and you get in positions where you have to throw a lot in a given game, you're in trouble, right? Whether you're playing just the Texans or the Rams or whoever, right? You could be playing one of the worst teams in the NFL. If your offensive line is having a terrible day at the office and you're behind in the game, I would say whether Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid are coaching or Freddie Kitchens is coaching, you can lose. So their key, and I think he would tell you, well, when we, kind of circumvented the injuries in 19, we were so good running the ball.
Yeah.
And that to me is just, I'm telling you, I think Kyle Shanahan is going to try to play Patriot 2021 on steroids with his young quarterback. And the difference is I think they were probably more confident. Like Mac didn't have the deep ball prowess that Trey's clearly going to have. Like they're going to rip deep
Or
balls.
the quarterback run.
Or the quarterback run. But what he would have is probably much more consistent on just like you knew if you ran an out route, he's going to hit that probably 80% of the time. Right.
Yeah.
And that his accuracy on the shorter stuff, and not in a million years would I have wanted Mac over Trey, but there are give and takes. And this is where the game planning specifically, like I think Kyle kind of likes being able to run some go routes, right? He's done it every game.
I think he does. Even the throw to Juszczyk. Wait, was it the throw to Juszczyk? Was that the throw to on the move to the sideline? Or was there a throw after that?
He did a couple.
That throw was a longer throw for the 49ers offense, right? A rollout throw to the sideline to Juszczyk. That was a longer throw by like Niners offense standards over the last several years with Garoppolo.
Agreed.
And I also think the reason that he was probably a little bummed that he couldn't keep Trey Lance in longer, which is what he said. He just realized he just couldn't keep him in any longer. One thing that Kyle Shanahan does not have yet is the experience of, and remember last year when he was like, he admitted that the rhythm was difficult for him when he brought Trey Lance into games. Kyle does not have week after week after week. I'm going to run a bunch of plays with Trey Lance week 1. I'm going to run a bunch of plays with him week 2. Someone's going to try and adjust to him week 3. And I'm going to do some shit off of that week 4 and then week 5 and week 6 and week 7. I mean, last year, Deebo said it in his interview on the Amazon pregame where he was like, what did they start last year? 1-3? Is that what it was?
Who, the Niners? No, they won the first 2 games because they played the Eagles and the Lions.
Were they 2-3?
Yeah, they were 3-5 at one
3-5. Whatever number he said. But they started 3-5 last year. I mean, it's a reminder that it's a long season. There are adjustments to adjustments, and on and on and on and on and on.
It does feel like their season was a little extra long for a playoff team.
It did feel extra long. Yeah, it did feel extra long. But I just think
I would argue that was about as bad as you can get and make the playoffs. Literally, I mean, they went to the last game. I mean,
it did really feel that way. Yeah, and then even the last game, it was like Trent's not going to play, and you're on the road against the Rams. Then you're down. Like that's the other thing.
We've all been watching football.
That game was over. They weren't going to win it.
We've all been watching football for a long time. That's one for a team that ends up in the Final Four. That's one of the more batshit crazy seasons ever. Right?
It really is. Yep, it really is. And I think
Thursday night, Jimmy, and then John Lynch liked the tweet.
Think of it like, and then John Lynch liked the tweet from where was he? Like with his family or no church?
Church. Yeah, church. It was Christmas.
It's like if you've got a video game, let's say Trey Lance is a video game, and there are things that you can only unlock when you get to like level 10, 11, 12, weapons that you can only unlock when you're in level 12. And Kyle hasn't gotten to play past level 2 or 3 with Trey Lance yet. So I think he's going to do those things really well, the early stuff. But I think there's probably other stuff that he hasn't even gotten to really get to yet because he hasn't had to deal with the adjustments, the things that happen over careers. And Trey Lance plays a lot and gets better and all of that stuff. So look, Trey Lance is in a better situation than any of the rookie quarterbacks that came in, any of the second-year quarterbacks that came in the league last year. He's in a better situation than any of the rookie quarterbacks that came into the league this year. He's in about as good as a situation as a third overall rookie quarterback pick can be. And a big part of that is because of his coach.
For sure. I mean, the guy that, had the most success given his team last year, honestly, it didn't look as good as I think, somehow you ended up in the Pro Bowl and he's doing the gritty as Mac. But it feels like fast forward a year. Wouldn't you say that most people think that Mac Jones, and honestly, it might not even be totally his fault. That Patriot thing could be a disaster.
He's in a bad situation, isn't he?
I've said over and over, listen, Mac Jones is represented by Condon and his group, the group that's from Drew Brees, the Mannings to Stafford, the big boys. Trey Lance, I think, is part of the same deal. You think if Mac Jones, who is pretty respectable, right? I mean, high level guy, feels like a solid player. If that thing gets ugly, and this doesn't happen with the Patriots, you think they're just going to let him go down with the ship, or you think they're going to start bad mouthing publicly? The Joe Judge, Patricia, like Bill doing this to him is insane. That type of stuff. Like, keep an eye on that. And Trey's lucky that he gets to go to a place that, I mean, is about as stable as you can be. I mean, both guys are on like 15-year contracts for people that have made the playoffs twice, two times in 5 years and make a combined like $25 million, the two of them.
I mean, look how long they've stuck with Garoppolo. That's stable.
Yeah, shit, he's still around. I saw Kawakami getting really mad. I kind of had it. I wasn't super locked into everything Herb Street was saying, but like that Herb Street was blaming the fans and the media for the Garoppolo situation. Tim got very offended because he just always gets mad. And I agree with him that when an announcer, because there are times like the fans and the media deserve shit. To me, the Jimmy Garoppolo thing is all 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo. It's nobody else. Everyone just talks about it because of their situation. It's not like some created, like the media. No, we go to practice. He's fucking throwing there. It's like I've said, the most normal, bizarre situation potentially in NFL history. Because it is very normal when you're there, but it is when you take a step back, it's an unprecedented, bizarre situation.
And I think it's why those guys, Al Michaels and Herb Street, were fixated on it tonight, because they were. Herb Street's just like, wait, Herb Street went back to it later in the game. Now, part of it is it's a bad game.
But they asked Sherman about it when he's. I mean, their guys are so famous. Sherman's a no-brainer. They're interviewing their own workers for the sideline reports. It's like you want to go.
How was your first day?
Let's go talk to Richard Sherman.
I know.
I think Fitz is pretty underrated, just higher. There's just a vibe to him.
Hold your Amazon take. Hold your Amazon takes. We'll get the Amazon takes later. I agree with you. Somebody asked this. You getting a new drink?
No.
Some water. Somebody said, Kid Trickster said, do you think Deebo's lack of separation is concerning? They've been practicing that route with Deebo all week. Lenore and Emmanuel Mosley were right there with him. I don't think it's concerning. We talked about it. What you guys saw today on the deep ball to Deebo is exactly what we saw repeatedly in Niners practice. It is clear that go balls to Deebo Samuel are not a high percentage play. And I said it 2 weeks ago. And I don't know if it's because, and by the way, I said a year ago, like, man, when Trey Lance gets out there, you're really going to open up the field with Deebo. Not correct. That was an incorrect statement because he just doesn't, that's not his thing.
No.
And you remember that stat I gave you a couple weeks ago, which was the lowest percentage of tight window throws in the NFL last year was Patrick Mahomes. Less than 10, I think it was 8% of his throws were considered tight window. It was the lowest percentage in the league. For when you watch Mahomes, it feels like he's playing all this crazy stuff. But the reality is his receivers are wide ass open. That's the easiest thing that you can get as a quarterback to help you throw an accurate pass.
You're saying 92% of his throws are to wide open guys?
Yeah, whatever, or not wide open, just not tight window. Okay.
So only 8% of his completions are considered tight window.
Tight window, which was
92% of his completions tend to be guy with some space.
Guys wide open, wide ass open, right? So to me, it's the simplest thing you can do for a quarterback is have a guy wide open. And Deebo Samuel, he gets wide open a lot of ways. Go routes down the sideline is not the way. And we've seen it in practice repeatedly. It's just not the highest percentage.
To me, the only way you run it is if it's off like some fake where he schemed to get an advantage. I think just one-on-one, like you would run to Randy Moss, or think about some of the guys, DK Metcalf, where it's just like my speed is better than your speed, and I'm going Deshaun Jackson. I mean, there are other guys I can't think of off the top. I think Justin Jefferson's actually – Jamar Chase is a guy that feels very, very comfortable down the sideline, and it's less always about being open. It's more just his jump ball.
Did you say Devontae?
Devontae is a good example, but I would put Devontae like Jamar Chase. They just go up and get the ball. Like Deebo is – he does go up and get the ball, like went over the middle, but I do feel like down the sideline on like a 30, 40-yard bomb, does it feel like he's going to leap up? And that, the type play where those guys leap up and they may hit the ground with the DB, but it's like they come down with it. CD Lamb. To me, Deebo, it's a good scouting report by you. I would scrap that play. It's just like a consistent, unless it's like, you pump fake left and he kind of fakes and then he go, something like scheme specific, but just playing football, what's the most basic route you run when you're a little kid? Go deep. They have tried that.
I wonder if Deebo wants that.
How could he not? You know what's a cool play? The go route, touchdown. The go route, just play. Even if the guy's tackled 30, 40 yards. Isn't that always just a highlight play throughout the day?
Yeah.
Any player?
It's a good point. Jump ball. It doesn't seem. We could check his vert, but I would guess his vertical leap was not, exceptional.
But that's not really. He's made some great like one-handers or whatever. How often do you feel him like stopping, going up, kind of like a Devontae or Jamar Chase?
Yeah.
Like that's just not really his game. His game is so freaking awesome. Even were you watching the pregame because it is a huge point of emphasis or a topic when it's about Deebo, like, are they going to use him differently or what's going to happen? Rich Sherman's like, they're just going to do what they do with him. Like,
I saw that.
Like Richard's like, no, it ain't changing. Like that's what he does sweet. And what he does sweet is he is so much faster with the ball in his hands. That guy's stride for stride with him. If that ball had been in Deebo's hands, that guy's 2 yards behind him. Now, you could argue he still beat him, but like in the NFL, that's pretty damn good coverage, isn't it? The guy's all over him.
Yeah, it's good coverage. And, maybe that same thing happens. Deebo catches that ball the second time, but it's not an easy play. I mean, it's not an easy play. Deebo would like the go route if Jamal Adams is on the coverage. That would be a good matchup.
Yeah. I just think I'm Haberman scattering report, no more go routes for the guy. Unless they are specifically schemed, and Kyle will do this. Ayuk's on one side with like juice. They fake like a quick screen. Deebo half-asses it, fakes it, and then he goes, stuff like that. But just one-on-one with the corner, like, I'm just going to beat you. It doesn't work in practice. Every single one has looked the exact same. Practice, the game, the exact same. The exact same.
We've seen him contested ball, and he did not catch it, right?
That play tonight has happened. How many times have we seen that?
Now, he's made a few of those catches, too. Again, he's fantastic. I mean, he
might make that play, 30% of the time. The percentage, I would just run it. I would give that if Danny Gray's dressed, I would give him those couple reps and then 11.
Ball was underthrown, though, says Josh. You got to be careful wading into that territory.
Well, I mean,
comments are getting mad at us.
Listen, you don't need to be Trey Lance's dad. We can all admit it wasn't an ideal throw, but I would say it wasn't a bad throw.
It was not a bad throw, and even if that ball's where it's supposed to be, there was so little separation that the DB still might get to it.
Yeah,
or instead of a little further in front of him.
I think that play is just very NFL because back to the Jamar Chases and Devontaes, and just a lot of guys make that play, like the best players make that play contested, but they're used to thriving outside, right? Like Devontae doesn't do, like, you're not putting him in the backfield. You're not running run plays for him. Honestly, you're not really, I guess they have run screens for him, but you would want to throw the ball down to Devontae or Jamar Chase because they're the Mike Williams, high point the motherfucker, right? AJ Brown, like they feel good, almost like like an NBA guy, like he's running full speed, then he stops and he jumps. Like those guys do that. Like that's not really Deebo's thing. That's what makes. You could argue Deebo just in terms of sports, team sports. He is one of the more unique players you are ever going to stumble upon. Right?
Well, it's funny. We've got kind of in the same way that kind of Draymond. Not different. Different.
But he's also got like a little Stephen Clay, like where he can take over and score.
Yeah. He's just unique in the way he's not unique in the same way that Draymond is unique, but he has some of the same qualities. Nobody else can do what I do, and part of the reason is just because of like what I got in here. I'm pounding my chest.
Well, here's what he does have. If he just played it outside wide receiver, and you just like never going to give him the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and you're just going to give him 12 targets a game, I don't think it would look as sweet. It wouldn't, even though he is so talented, right?
Yeah.
There
are less talented, less good players that do this specific thing better than him.
Yeah. I think that's a fair way to put it.
Jimmie Ward, John, looks like he's headed to IR. John Lynch was on Amazon today. Did John Lynch get like $7 million for that appearance?
He's like, hey, guys, they were going to give me all your salaries and like a part of Herbie's, and I would have been up there.
I just remember, fellas, all I got to do is say the word. But he said Jimmie Ward IR, which is four games.
Do you like how they changed around the IR, took a couple games off, so allows you to do a little wiggle room?
Absolutely. There was no reason to keep good players out for just just
You've always thought,
rules
why do
thing.
they have these hard, fine line rules?
I wouldn't do it at all. I wouldn't have any rules about how long guys have to be out.
Just have a floating number, right?
Bring
I
them back
think
when they're healthy. What do I care?
I think it has a lot to do with like salary cap and contract kickers and stuff like that. Like, I think the owners save a little cash. Not good. To me, what this tells is, one, when Kyle talked about the injury a couple weeks ago, or whenever it first happened, like whenever he talked the next time, he looked pretty like it was an ominous vibe to him. It was not like, hey, it's the way he's talked about Ward and Mosley and a lot of these guys, like Kinlaw, like, no, these guys are fine. Everything's gonna be Elijah Mitchell. It was like, yeah, that's not good. And to me, it might have been like, hey, maybe he could be ready by the third or fourth game, but we'll talk. I mean, they're kind of in a numbers like, who are they really keeping? And if you're going to keep Jimmie Ward, and let's say you're not going to have him for a month, this does just allow you to use a roster spot, maybe on an extra offensive lineman, extra defensive lineman, extra DB, maybe keeps an extra running back. Who knows? But I think they realized they needed the roster spot, and given that he was no guarantee to be back by Denver, because I think you're like, okay, guy could be back by Denver, because if he could, then I would think about it. But I wonder if they realize he's not going to be back by Denver. 80% chance he's not. Let's take the safe route. But guy, that's
the Rams game. You hate to lose in week 4 of the Rams game.
This is a borderline 2-month injury, right? He was hurt a week and a half ago. So right around, a couple days, maybe. I don't have the exact date, after September 11th. Let's just say August 15th. Now he's not going to be back for 4 weeks of the regular season. That's a long time.
4 weeks of the regular season, which puts him back at like
this is
October 9th would be the game he'd return. That's week 5.
That's a long time. Just
you said around mid-August. Yeah, that's
give or take. What do you think? 6.5, 7 weeks.
But I also think it's like with a deep hamstring, that is not you're not rushing a guy back from that,
and he's covering space. Like Jimmie Ward ain't functioning without his play speed.
Yeah, which honestly, I think they'd be in a worse position had they not upgraded at corner. Like if you told me Charvarius Ward is also out, he's supposed to come back next week. Emmanuel Mosley's back. Like, I think they can weather it in part because of their pass rush and because their corners should be better. But you just wonder, like, now Hufanga is back. I don't know. Jimmy just does a lot. The Broncos and the Rams both have a ton of just are dangerous in terms of their receiving corps.
I agree. Didn't the Broncos
and they're smart? And you're talking about veteran quarterbacks. Sorry, you're talking about veteran quarterbacks too, and that's where I think Jimmie Ward probably also is valuable.
Didn't the Broncos draft the pass catching tight end from UCLA, the guy that can run?
Dulcich, but I think he got hurt.
So I mean, those guys they just have a ton of weapons. Now, the one thing the 49ers do have is athletic linebackers, and those guys. Remember, there were moments. Remember the play of Fred Warner where he didn't just get an extra yard of depth, and that ball went over his head to Devontae Adams and led to like you're going to need, whether it's Greenlaw or Alshire, and obviously Fred's going to be on the field the whole time. Like I would say those guys are going to have to step up a little bit in the passing game, right, when it comes to covering pass catching running backs and tight ends over that stretch. Yeah. Now, luckily, I would say the Bears, not great. The Seattle, I mean, we'll see their quarterback situation. Who knows? Jimmy Garoppolo might be starting. But those next 2 games, I mean, those guys, there are a lot of weapons on the Broncos and definitely the Rams, right? And think about Jimmie Ward last year against the Rams. Fuck it, I felt that guy was everywhere. I felt Jimmie Ward turns into like Ronnie Lott against the Rams. Remember he had the pick 6 thing? Now, it hit off the guy's foot or whatever. But I was like, oh, this is Monday night. This game's on.
Yeah. That's part of it. He's just a big game guy, and you're going to the Broncos on the road. You're playing the Rams at home. You definitely want him back by week 7 against the Chiefs. Like, you couldn't afford to bring him back early and then have him get hurt and then miss, that stretch that you get into when you get into the Chiefs, the Rams, the Chargers, the Cardinals.
I think week 3 at Denver, if they're both 2-0, could look absolutely just jaw-dropping sweet on television.
I agree.
That place could be going bananas.
I agree. No. All right. You mentioned Garoppolo. Michael Lombardi, I mentioned this during the secret segment of the podcast, which is gone from the podcast now. Michael Lombardi, I listened to his podcast, was adamant that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to the Seahawks. That the Seahawks want Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're waiting on Jimmy Garoppolo, and that the reason there hasn't been a trade is because the Niners don't want to send him to the Seahawks, and they definitely don't want to help the Seahawks. And they play the Seahawks week 2, which is part of it. Like, if they played the Seahawks both games at the end of the year, maybe it would be different. Lombardi didn't say. But the fact that they play the Seahawks week 2, the Niners want to put the Seahawks in as bad of a position as possible because they believe that's where he's going to go. Lombardi then checked one of the betting markets, and it had Jimmy Garoppolo to the Seahawks as the favorite. Now, the 53-man cut down day is Tuesday, August 30th at 1 p.m. Pacific. So given that the Niners have a bunch of position battles, given that you expect guys to get claimed off their team, I would think it'd be pretty stunning if Jimmy were still on their team past that date, right? If they used a roster spot on him. Now, they don't have to cut him till September 10th when his contract becomes guaranteed, but they're not keeping him, Pat. They got to give him let the Seahawks come get him by next Tuesday, right?
You would think. I mean, I you know where I stand. I have no problem if you tell me they announce cutting him tomorrow, like Friday. Just move on with this. Because we talked about the last time we talked, like 48 hours ago. How are they that scared? What? Do you remember when, I mean, it's one of the more historic kind of crazy moves, and it kind of backfired originally because he traded Drew Bledsoe to the Bills. The Bills played the Pats week 1, and Bill lost, but obviously won the wars. They, I think, won the Super Bowl. But my point is, Bill Belichick was not scared of Drew Bledsoe, who, listen, he had some flaws, but he was a better player than Jimmy Garoppolo. How could they possibly be worried about, like, the optics? Like, what if he beats you? Like, how are you even thinking that?
I think
what could they be worried about?
I think my read just after listening to Lombardi is they want to. It's a very analytical approach. Like if there's a 60% chance of them winning without him and a 63% chance of them winning with him, then we won't let them have him. I think, listen to Lombardi, his tone was just they want to make it as hard on Seattle as possible. Shane Waldron, like Jimmy wants to go somewhere where he knows the verbiage. Shane Waldron, the verbiage is going to be similar. Like Jimmy's going to
honestly, it could be the same, right?
Well,
He's
same,
big.
Yeah, exactly the same. So Jimmy could,
if he knows the offense
really quickly, and they just want to delay it. They want to make it as hard on Seattle as possible, which when you say it that way, I do think is understandable.
Okay, let's do a hypothetical. Jimmy is released. Let's even pick Tuesday, right? Okay. Whenever. Early next week. He signs with Seattle immediately because unlike, Trey Sermon or whatever, he is not subject to waivers. Jimmy Garoppolo will be a free agent. He can sign with any team. He doesn't have to pass. Teams aren't going to claim him. And even if they could, obviously, there's only so many teams couldn't claim the contract. If he signs with the Seattle Seahawks, is he the starting quarterback? Let's say he signs by Wednesday afternoon. Is he starting quarterback week 1 in their game against Denver?
So they acquired him on October 30th in 2017. How many days until his first game?
It was a couple weeks, but remember, he did not know the offense, and later they talked about it was kind of crazy. We just kind of ran some certain plays that Jimmy liked, and we changed a bunch of stuff on the fly. Like you said, he's been in the offense now longer than he was even with New England. And even if Waldron changed the names of what McVay and Kyle, I think they could figure it out, get on the same page pretty quickly.
Yeah, so they acquired him on the 30th. He missed 2 games, and then he started. Maybe they had a bye, and then he played on the 26th. So he basically almost a month. I think if they got him by next Wednesday and had a week and a half to get him up to speed,
play on Monday night too,
Denver,
right? Monday night, right?
Against Denver
is at home in Seattle.
I think you'd play him because you want to play him against the Niners the next week. Now you could argue give him another week. It's kind of crazy. Don't get him hurt. Let's debut him the next week. You got to play him against the Niners. He would have to be your quarterback by week 2, right?
I
think he'd play week 1. I think Pete Carroll would be like, fuck it. This is my thing. 100 miles an hour, all gas, no brakes, full speed mistakes. Jimmy, let's go get him, babe. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say it would be on the table. Now, it also depend on, it feels like they kind of want Drew Lock to start. I've said over and over, I would probably try to avoid that if I get some money. If I was Jimmy and Pittsburgh called, now maybe they just want to go with Kenny Pickett. It kind of feels that way. I saw someone say that's starting to lean. If Kenny Pickett's going to be in the mix, they're not going to sign Jimmy Garoppolo, right?
Yeah, right. Which that I agree with.
That I understand.
He knows where the bathrooms are.
And you would watch tonight going, if that guy's healthy, whether the Texans turn out to be competitive this year or not, you and I were texting about, they got to find out about this guy, right? They are not replacing him right now. Now, maybe if like in 2 months, like this guy's he's not that good. Even though every time I watch him, I'm like, he's got a little something there. I feel like Kyle's like, God, I kind of like this guy.
Like, to me, you don't end that to go do Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, because I get Seattle, because ultimately, I say this all the time, Pete ain't trying to lose. Like Pete is not talking like they suck. I think he's like invigorated of the new guys and the juice, and I bet he thinks like, could I compete for a wild card spot? You think Pete's thinking about? I know you know this, but I think a lot of people think they're just cool with sucking. Like Pete's 71 years old. Pete, what 70-year-old who's as crazy as Pete Carroll is cool with just having like a shitty year? Now maybe by November 30th, if he realizes I'm not going to get fired or whatever, like it's big picture stuff. Let's play young guys. But the first, I'd say 7-8 games, Pete Carroll's fucking swinging for the fences. He's won too much to start losing, right? Same with Bill. Like once you've won that long, you ain't about losing anything. Now, maybe lose a game for the big picture, but like lose a season, like have a 3-win season. Remember when they went 9-7 and John Schneider's like, yeah, it felt like we won 2 games this year. Like they have been pretty spoiled up there.
Yeah.
Even last year was kind of a disaster. And it was really just because Russell broke it. If Russell hadn't hurt his hand, they would have been right there in the wild card mix, right? They were just screwed once he missed those 3 games. And then remember, he got back and I think they might have played Denver and it was clear he wasn't right. So even when he came back, he wasn't right. But if Russell Wilson's just 100% healthy all year, I bet they're thinking like, yeah, we got a flawed team or whatever, but we're right there. We're right there to win 9-10 games with the Saints and the Niners. Fuck, we beat the Niners twice.
Yeah. Remember, you don't have to be a Super Bowl contender. If you can be in the 7, 8, 9 win range, now you're playing games that matter in November and December, right? Because that's 9 was the playoffs last year in the NFC, right? So
well,
and they went 7-10 last year. The Seahawks.
I think people think they were way farther away than people realize.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they were. I'm a little jaded. So are you. So was anyone that watched, because they beat the Niners in one game. I think the final score was 28-21, but it was 21-6. It felt a lot. The game wasn't that close. Game was not that close.
No,
I mean, they ran a punt in from 80 yards. No one touched them.
A fake punt, to be clear, not a received punt. That is one of the better messages I've seen. Middlekauff's internet is the biggest comeback since the Pats were down 28-3. That's a good comment.
Have you ever seen the Ethernet cords that are flat? Not like normal. I got a flat one.
Yeah, I have seen those.
You have that, or do you have?
I don't. One? I just have. I've got the normal kind, I guess.
Yeah. I just wanted flat, or they actually.
I don't want to talk about it right now. Yeah. I don't want it. I don't want it to hear us talking about it.
No need.
How long? We don't need to talk about it. John, before we go any further, let's tell the people about Indeed. Indeed.com/ham. Indeed.com/ham. Right now, you get a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/ham. The offer is good for a limited time. Indeed is the hiring platform where you attract, you interview, you hire, all in one place. So instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's a powerful hiring partner that can help you through it all, and do it with time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and visual interviews. With Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job post. The moment they sponsor a job. That's what I was trying to say, according to Indeed data. So right now, start hiring. Get a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/ham. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/ham. Indeed.com/ham. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. I wasn't sure, so I just went for it.
No, yeah, just keep on rocking.
Flat cords are fine. It's about the shielding.
I just might need to do some like
Interesting.
start overs, some unplugs. It's one of those.
Yeah. Amazon. We watched it tonight. I had it going on my TV and I had it going on my iPad. So basically exactly the same as I watch every other game. So that experience was good. You started to say something about
you double watch games.
If there's one big game and I really need to pay attention, I'll double watch the game. Because usually one of them's kind of behind and I can always watch the play and then like 10 seconds later watch the play again.
Do you plug your iPad in when you're watching the game, or does
I had it on my laptop actually, my second with my second screen.
My iPad runs out of juice pretty fast, but it's old.
Yeah. But I watched it. I watched the pregame. Actually, the pregame kind of snuck up on me, so I caught the last like 20 minutes. But I thought
I think it started at 4. I think it was like an hour and 15 minute pregame.
So I missed the beginning, but I caught Whitworth, Sherm, Fitz when Whitworth was there, because then he left, and he was really good. And Sherm was really good, and Fitz was really good, and it looked really good. I thought the music came off good. I enjoyed the broadcast.
Yeah,
you started talking about Fitz earlier, though. I interrupted you.
Yeah, I thought that it looked very crisp on television. You got good internet. I had zero issues, no buffering, no streaming. I thought it looked clearer than Fox or CBS, or every bit it's equal. And I had the thought tonight, like, we ain't ever going back. I can't even imagine what Amazon, Apple TV, and maybe there's stuff that we don't even, maybe it's Disney Plus or whatever, where all these games are the next CBA. I'm not trying to get way ahead of ourselves, but their capabilities, their power, the amount of money. Think about the money they spent for tonight. Like, what's Al costing them? $10 million minimum?
Maybe more.
I mean, it costs a shitload. Even their crew, like, I don't think Sherman's cheap. I mean, I just think they have no problem in a day and age when so many of these big companies, and rightfully so, like, I understand kind of nitpicking and being cheaper, even though I do think it costs a lot of different, broadcasts, not even game broadcasts, but just in general. They look at every turn to cut, like, how do we save money? It's kind of the opposite with the big boys like Apple and obviously Netflix and Amazon. They that's not their mindset.
I got to say one thing about that, though. It's when Apple or Amazon do a game right now, that is their Super Bowl, right? When Fox or CBS, when they do the Super Bowl or Monday night, they don't cut costs on that. The problem is they are committed to like 800 games, and they cut costs on those, but they don't, like, that's the one thing, right? Amazon, like, they put everything into this one game, which is what the networks do for Notre Dame, Big Noon Kickoff, College Game Day, the Super Bowl, the conference championship games. Just the networks have committed themselves to all these other games, and those games don't get the same.
Don't make the same money. Yeah, but I'm talking about less of even about some of the games and just more about, like, just you turn on an ESPN show right now, like, I would say the talent is greatly diminished of what it used to be.
But I would have the same. I'm making the same. Like, they are committed to, like, their biggest things. They still put everything into it, right?
For sure. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree there, but I do think their capability. These people have more money.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. Like,
Apple
Jeff
and
Bezos
Amazon
have more money. But, like, think about Apple. Like, I would put Apple right there too. Like, they're sniffing around with baseball. Like, you think they're going to stop there? Like, this is the property.
No, they were both sniffing around the Big Ten television deal.
Who, Amazon and Apple?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, don't you think Apple is coming for the NFL next? And I think tonight shows you that, like, it's legit. Like, this is not even 2 or 3 years ago. Like, they're ready. Like, it's time.
Well, you know what they did? Same thing Fox. I saw somebody make the point the other day. Same thing Fox did in the 90s. They just hired all the people that did it somewhere else. Like, who's not cheap? I don't know what they're paying him. Fred Gaudelli, who's been Al. He's the producer. Well, he was the Sunday Night Football. They brought Al's producer. They paid him to come.
Well, don't you think ESPN did the same thing? stealing Joe and Troy, took a couple of their guys.
Yeah. I think the Fox producer, Richie, it's with the Z. I don't know. It's Zygans or whatever. He stayed behind. He's working on the Greg Olson, Kevin Burkhardt crew.
But isn't that the way to build a business? Like, I think Live, for example, stole a bunch of people from Golf Channel to help run their shit, like, right? Because how would you know how to do it?
100%. It's like nothing's actually that different except where you get it, but it's high level people. Clearly good camera. Like, they just, And they hired
it felt
the
legit,
people
didn't it?
running, like the executives. It's not somebody who like they brought over from I was in Amazon, I worked in the warehouse distributing network, and now they got me running sports. No, they hire somebody from Fox or they hire somebody from ESPN. The only thing really that different is the graphics and where you get it.
Oh, you MIDDLEKAUFF? Yeah, you got that funny face wash that I sent you? Like, oh, you also like those special Q-tips you always get delivered every month?
This guy Haberman, you return a lot of stuff.
Yeah, see, they don't even know about that. You're right. My overall takeaway was like, it's big time. And part of it is just because your expectations, and you realize it's no different than, I don't want to say it felt like, Sunday Night Football is the biggest show right now in television, right? It's the number one rated television show in America, even though like what we do now, why radio can't compete, we know exactly who listens and how many people listen. And that's just the podcast game. It's why Joe Rogan and Bill Simmons and Coward and Caller Daddy and all the big shows, they know exactly, like when they say 11 million people, that's not a guess, right? It's like, no, Caller Daddy knew 11 million people listen to an episode. It's not like, well, the 3 meters. And look, it's clear a shitload of people watch the NFL, right? No one would argue that. But they don't actually know. They don't actually know. They're taking very educated guesses that could easily be off by 1 million people. You know who's going to know exactly how many people watch tonight and exactly who those people are? Is Bezos and company. They're going to know exactly not only how many people watched, how long they watched for, and then they're also going to know, like we were just making fun of our items, know exactly what we like, what we order, the way we live.
Yeah,
they're going
to know what we ordered while we were watching the game.
Well, think about Apple. Think about like that's. I honestly think that I've just had this thought kind of all week. Like they're just fucked. Like big picture. The one thing that kept them alive this time is one that probably they weren't capable of completely shifting, but also Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft, the older guys, Rooney, they're still alive. The next CBA, a lot of those guys are going to be passed away and their kids are going to be running it. And obviously these companies are going to have much more capabilities and they'll have more than dabbled. I had the thought tonight, like the next CBA, whenever, let's just pick a 2028, could network be dead?
As we know it for sure. I mean, it is imperative in this window that they have now that they get people converted to their streaming services. And, the thing with Amazon that Amazon
this is
does,
the way, right?
This is the way. Like, but it takes balls. Like you have to, if you're NBC, and the NFL isn't going to let you do this, put an NFL game only on Peacock. Now they're going to put a Notre Dame game only on Peacock this year, the UNLV game, but that's it. But you've got to get people, and I think more and more and more. You think about where we were even 3 years ago, the amount of people now that are willing to pay for, now you're not going to be paying for commercial free, but the amount of people now that are just willing to pay for, like Substack. I read another House of Strauss article today. I don't even think about it. There's so many things out there that I pay for that I use and I go, that is $5 or $10 or whatever dollars well spent today.
About the bloggers, you read that one?
The Buzz Bissinger clip with Will Leach. Did you watch it?
I didn't click on it, but I read the article.
Oh my God, Bissinger!
I remember him freaking out.
Oh my God,
the internet attacking.
The irony of the whole thing, and it was, Ethan wrote it really well. It was like Will came off like the legacy media guy, and Buzz comes off like the new school, rock and roll kind of counterculture guy. But Will was Deadspin and Buzz was traditional media. But Buzz, I thought, his predictions were pretty on point.
Well, he said ultimately you guys are just going to rip and make fun of people, and that's exactly what they did.
And the last thing he said was, and we'll all be dumber for it. That was the last thing he said. Anyway,
right.
Costas was really, Braylon Edwards was actually pretty good that day. I don't know what Braylon's up to.
Buzz wrote Friday Night Lights, right?
Yeah.
Well, that coach just died. You see that?
I did.
The high school coach for that school just passed away. I think he was like 73 years old.
I did not see that.
I've watched the movie. I've watched the television show. Never read the book. Very reflective of MIDDLEKAUFF the consumer.
Yeah.
I do own the book. I'm pretty sure. I
didn't watch the show. I did watch the movie.
When I say watch the show, I watched maybe like over the last couple of years. I watched like a season or two. It's not bad. The one coach and the mom and Riggins.
But, the coach. I like that guy, that actor.
Yeah. Honestly, A little cheesy. It was one of those like, I had a couple weeks, did nothing to watch. It was a point in
Well-
time, and I banged out like 20 episodes. It was like, is this better than people act? No, it's shittier.
Did you mention who's the actress who was Jeter's ex-girlfriend?
Yeah, she dates the good-looking football player who's actually went on to have a pretty good little acting career. But it turns out even in that show, even the first season when he's supposed to be a junior in high school, he's actually like 26 years old. And what's her name? Mina Kimes?
I can't remember. No.
Not Mina
not far off though.
Mina Kelly? Minka Kelly?
Minka.
That's Jeter's wife?
No. Ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, he was dating her.
There was a different documentary that she was in.
Yeah.
When he got 3,000 hits, I think.
Was he dating her then?
Yeah, she was in the doc. I remember. She was like, doesn't know really anything about baseball. But whatever. I don't know why that.
Yeah. Feels like Jeter, you follow him on social media, like just kind of like lost in life.
I don't know if I do.
I think he really likes being a dad, but you can tell like there's just a lot, probably just holes in his life. It's like how do you do that for that long? Be the Yankees, the captain, and then it just ends, and you just like take your daughter to work. To school.
We play for the Yankees.
Yeah, I think it's easier transition for like Cody Ross. He's like playing golf in Scottsdale all the time, like having a good time. Like Derek Jeter's like, this just ain't the same, man. I was the fucking captain of the Yankees for 2 decades. I'm known as like one of the great champions in American history. Like Bill Russell, Jordan, Jeter, just winners, and then I'm 44 and I just like drive my daughter to kindergarten. You just see it's just like there's just something missing.
Yeah. If he could just go on a fishing boat for a month with Pettit, Mariano, and Posada, he would.
Like it feels like Michael transitioned because he likes screwing around. Like that was a weird part about Michael. Like even while he dominated, he loved his little side.
He gambles like crazy on golf.
But also like you see some clips of him like fishing. Now maybe he's gambling on the boat, like who's going to catch the biggest fish. I mean, who knows? But it feels like he just does a lot of like.
Yeah.
You just see him at like car events, or like races, and he's just there front and center. And again, maybe he's gambling and drunk, which it feels like those are huge parts of his lilife. Like he has cocktails in he's drinking a lot. So maybe
does it feel like Derek drinks much?
No, it feels like Michael just drinks away his
boredom,
his missing of competitiveness. Also built himself a golf course where just sweet players come and play. So he's filled the voids.
Did you notice? I think Al, by the way, I just want to make this point about Al. I think Al
colors his hair.
How old is Al?
I think 82 or something.
He's a pretty young 82. I mean, he always has stayed kind of current. Did you hear his comment tonight?
77.
Preseason wins are as valuable as Dogecoin. Al said that tonight during the broadcast.
That's a good one. Well, Al's LA hip,
Yeah, Al, I'm just what I'm saying. Like Al felt to me even a little younger than he'd felt to me the last couple of years. I wonder, he took a little chance, getting paid a lot, but I wonder if he rolled in like this thing feels big. I wonder if it just feels pretty big. Because I bet everybody around it is pretty energized by just doing something different. Even though it's a lot of the same people, I bet they're pretty energized by kind of blazing a new trail. He seems energized by it.
And think about this, if you're him. I think Carissa said this like when they were doing the intro part about like we even got "Do you believe in miracles?" guy joking around, but I wonder if Al realizes like who knows how much longer I'm gonna be around. Like I get to be part like as this new like in 30, 40 years when this is normal, I was the first guy.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
It's because you would say he's a part of the NFL because he's called big games, but he's not viewed as like John Madden, a trailblazer, or he's just part of it. Like to me, Al, like when it comes to the Olympics or just historic, like that is like Al Michaels is going to be known for that for another 200 years. Do you believe in miracles? Like that's his call. But like he's probably thinking like I've been a huge part of the NFL. And I've called big games, I've called Super Bowls, but like this is something you'll never be able to take away from me. Like I was the first guy to call streaming.
Do you think he's
the cheesy as that sounds?
Do you think he's the biggest guy we got right now? Just play-by-play guy. I mean, do you believe in miracles? The OJ car chase he was on, who God only knows how many people were watching the ABC coverage when Al was on the phone because he knew the neighborhood.
Knew the neighborhood guy. That was like his buddy. They played tennis.
Well, yeah, that's
like his best friend.
The 89 earthquake, he was
Wasn't
on
he
the
his
air.
neighbor?
Yeah. I think he was pretty close because Al was like looking out his window or something.
I'm pretty at least the same street.
Yes. Got traded for Roger, like that whole story. Got traded from ESPN. Start Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football is not a thing until that year in Al's first year. Worked with John. I mean, I think he's the biggest. I think he's like
He did Monday Night Football. So he started Sunday Night Football, did Monday Night Football. Now he's doing the streaming.
I think him and Herbie have a quality that's really hard to capture, which is they're both pretty comfortable. Now I think they're going to need. They were fine tonight. I think Herbie will get a little more comfortable as time goes on. But I thought he was good.
New haircut. You can tell he's got a haircut.
He went tight on the sides.
Yeah.
I feel
like he dropped a little.
He knows kids are watching. They were like, Herbie, our demo on Amazon Prime is much lower than it is on ABC. He was like, oh shit. He did. Maybe he thinned up a little. Was on the MIDDLEKAUFF diet.
They didn't. They said that they said that tonight. The demo thing.
No. I was going
to be like, God, they're taking shit. That'd be a risky spot for Herbie. You know, Herbie's first game. I texted to you like Ohio State Notre Dame, which had to be on the rotunda of picks. Would you say that's the number one pick of the season?
Yes, because Notre Dame
Fox says that Michigan, Ohio State's always their number one pick.
I think. Remember last year there was a Notre Dame Georgia game, and I think it outrated. They took that game over Alabama Auburn, if I remember correctly. Like that's how big Notre Dame was to take Notre Dame over an Alabama Auburn game. I bet Notre Dame Ohio State.
You think there'll be some people watching?
I bet it outrates Ohio State Michigan.
Did you know that game was next week?
Admittedly, maybe once upon a time, but I'd forgotten until you texted me that.
That's a pretty big first game for fucking the new coach. Holy moly!
I know. Let me just the point though on those two is like I think the hardest thing is to get people that are comfortable. A lot of people can be comfortable in the booth, but actually come off as fun. Although somebody on the stream said they thought Herbie was boring, I disagree. Come off as fun without making jokes. But it just feels like they're having a good time. And I think Herbie was not his like national champion. I think he'll get a little looser as this thing goes along.
Yeah, I do think though Herbie, as a guy on television, is not like I would say Collinsworth's pretty loosey goosey, having a good time. You know, obviously Romo. To me, Aikman's a little tighter. I would put Herbie in kind of the Aikman cat. He's not. I don't want to use the word stiff, but he's not Mr. Screwer. Like Al and Chris were just like,
that's true.
At any moment is like, God, are these guys going to make cocktails together out there? Like Chris was very comfortable in his own skin by that point, like him and Al, and just NFL guy, knew everybody. I would imagine the NFL guys are going to be very cool to Herb Street, right? Football guys are nice to other football guys. But I do wonder if. I don't mind him, but I could see some people thinking like, could we do better than this? I'm telling you, I think I text you. I think Richard Sherman's he could do that job next year. Now maybe Al was like, if I'm going to do this, you got to give me someone who knows what he's doing. I can't break in Richard.
I could see Amazon saying we need a name that people go, holy shit, Kirk Herbstreit's doing this, and I think he does accomplish that.
You don't think Richard Sherman would, though, next year if he has like a year on the booth?
I just mean when you're launching it, I think Herbie brings and you want a person who really knows what they're doing when you're in the situation. Sure. But I thought Sherm, it actually crossed my mind when you texted me that, like, could you do Sherm and Fitz? Could they do both of them? Because they seem to work well together, which, it doesn't always work out that way.
Hot take, I would incorporate Sherm in the game if I could. Like, if he's going to go to all these games, could he
make
just
him like the sideline? Make him like the sideline analyst?
Yeah.
Have him interview the coach after.
Are they going to do that during the season, you think?
I don't think so, but I think like a Sherm halftime interview with a coach going out and then a coach interview coming in would be pretty good. That's not a bad idea.
Week 2, Sherm, Andy Reid, like walk into the tunnel. That's
a good idea. Do you think Aikman and Buck were watching tonight going, whoa, thank God they did not make us do a preseason game on ESPN?
There's a lot of moving parts now with the broadcast crews.
I was thinking about this today. Maybe I think this every year, but college and NFL, I am about as excited for this football season, I feel like, as I've been in a long time. Trey Lance, college football shit going on, just the whole thing, man. I'm excited for this season.
It's going to be good. It's going to be pretty good. As long as the Niners don't go like 6-11.
Yeah. There will always be New Year's in Vegas, John. Niners Raiders.
That is true.
All right. Aaron Donald swung some helmets. Anything you want to say about that?
So you told, I didn't know this, that it's not a suspendable offense.
Yeah, Judge Sue Robinson cannot get involved because joint practices are not things that are not under the NFL.
How'd you find that?
I just saw like one of the NFL, maybe it was Florio wrote, the NFL can't punish you for things that happen in a practice. Although if you're too physical and you violate the CBA, they can punish you. So that's kind of weird.
Well,
right?
think who usually gets in trouble in a practice. The team gets mad at the guy, right? Well, Sean McVay ain't suspended Aaron Donald.
Well,
and the Bengals don't.
Are the Bengals allowed to?
Well, they don't have the power.
He swung. I saw the people on filming. You could hear them. They're like, "Whoa!" Like even they realize, like, "Whoa, bro, what are you doing?"
But here's my take on these things. Like we have seen crazy brawls in these joint practices. Didn't a woman got hurt the other day at the Panthers Patriots? And even Matt Rule was like, we hope she's okay. Well, yeah, a player got thrown into the stands. And it just, in all seriousness, like, let's just say they did have the power to suspend him. Do you think he should be suspended for something that happens in a practice, even if a helmet's getting you have two helmets?
I mean, honestly, sounds crazy. I kind of do. Again, the problem is the footage. I can't really, I see him swinging a helmet at somebody. To me, it would be in the category of if he did that and somebody like had to go to like suffer.
Well, Mason got hit, right?
But I mean, if you said like somebody's out 3 weeks or they're hospitalized with a broken nose, I'd be like, God, I mean, that's pretty nuts.
Well, would this story be way bigger? I mean, his story will kind of die in a day, but like if he had hit, let's just say their starting guard in the face and broke his jaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think part of it feels so long ago. I don't even remember. Mason got hit in the head, right? Did he get hit or did he miss?
Garrett.
Miles hit him. I feel like he missed. Maybe he hit him.
I'd be lying if I told you I remembered.
I don't. I do wonder. Did you see the still photo of McVay right there? Like he's got a Bengal helmet. It looks like he's got a Ram helmet. I think his helmet's on. And Donald just has weapons galore. He's the craziest guy in the league to begin with. He doesn't even need weapons. And McVay's kind of there like, what am I supposed to do? And there's a million players. I'm honestly shocked that in the last 3 or 4 years, no one's gotten seriously hurt in one of these joint practices.
You mean in a fight?
Just as something gone terribly wrong. Like a guy gets suplexed and gets his arm shattered, Remember that there was it Jimmie Ward and Hopkins a couple years ago fought? I mean, their fights, it's basically unavoidable that there's a fight at a joint practice. It's just how out of control do they get? Do they happen in like a one-on-one drill or do they happen with the whole team and then it turns into a baseball brawl, but a little different a baseball brawl? Because all it takes is one kind of guy getting a cheap shot and then it escalates immediately. And unlike a baseball brawl, how do you stop it? The only people that can stop it are the players. The coaches are kind of helpless, right? Because one, they're not padded up. They unless you've got 7 Dan Campbells out there, most of the coaches are undersized, are kind of, balancing like I can't get too close, but I'm like screaming like stop, but no one's listening. It's like yelling at like 2 dogs fight. Like they're just not
that aren't yours.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Like Aaron Donald in that moment, who was stopping him, right?
Especially once he starts swinging helmets, not a soul.
And is there a chance? And maybe he'd say like, the fucking guy came after my knee, right? Or who knows?
Yeah. Just the helmet swing in a crowd is such an inaccurate weapon. The
what?
Swinging a helmet in a crowd is just an inaccurate weapon. Now, maybe he hit who he was trying to hit. I don't know.
I always love when a guy puts his 2 arms up and the guy's got a helmet on. It's like, bro, you play receiver. You hit me, you break your hand, you're screwed.
Well,
that was a good one.
Again, tonight's an example. It's a 4-quarter game, John. It's a 4-quarter game.
It is bizarre. We just gotta, you gotta work out the kinks now. That's why Patricia gets to call some plays, Judge gets to call some plays, and Belichick calls the red zone. If he's got to call all the plays, he just yanks the play calling away.
All right. Well, great performance by you. In the end, it's going to end up being on the pod about a 37-minute podcast. But Thanks to everybody that joined. Look, if you're listening to this podcast, you should know things happened on the YouTube version that you didn't get to hear. We edited out about 40 minutes of just nonsense.
Is that what it was?
It was around that, yeah. Because of we had a good time. So if you want to check in on what that 40 minutes behind the scenes was like, we were on. It was fun. You can go to the YouTube. It's going to be left in on the YouTube. But on the podcast, that stuff's gone. So, yeah, you could go check that out. I mean, God, you probably haven't. No one's still listening to this if you're on the podcast. Who makes it to the end of a podcast, for crying out loud? Not me.
I do every once in a while.
Really? You just forget what you're doing, and the next thing you know, you're listening to what?
I'm more likely to listen to a whole podcast, but during parts of the podcast doing other stuff, realize I didn't get that much of it. It's like when I used to read books, and sometimes I'll read like 50 pages, like, I remember about 7 things from those 50 pages. Did I actually read?
Or sometimes you're listening to somebody talk, and you realize, huh?
My reading comprehension was always pretty low on those standardized tests.
Social studies was a strong suit for me. That's not really what they hire for at Goldman Sachs.
No.
Or Fidelity. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us. Yeah. Well, next week. Well, when Jimmy gets traded on Sunday, we'll be back.
Yeah.
Later.
Peace.
Thank you.